Ready? Good afternoon and welcome to the Barefoot Bay Recreation District Board of Trustees regular meeting for Friday, June 12, 2020. The meeting will now come to order. The board would like to have a moment of silence to honor all our service personnel, both past and present, who have or are still fighting to protect this great country of ours that we live in. Also, let's remember all our Barefoot Bay residents, both past and present. We will follow this with a pledge of allegiance led by District Manager John Coffey. Let's now have a moment of silence, please. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Trustee Compton, please do the roll call.
Yes. Chairman Klosky, are you here?
Yes.
Trustee Henderson? Trustee Mino?
Yes.
Trustee Compton is here. Trustee Loveland?
Yes.
We also have with us Mr. John Coffey, our district manager, Ms. Stephanie Brown, our district clerk. We have Mr. Cliff Reppinger, our general counsel. And Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Roger. First thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes. I have a set of minutes for May 26, 2020. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for May 26, 2020.
Randy
I'll
made a
second.
motion. Second?
I'll second.
Luann seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Treasury report. Trustee Loveland, please read the treasury report.
Treasury report, June 12, 2020. Petty cash, $2,500. MB&T operating account, $2,764,013.37. SB&A reserve account, $697,770.89. Total cash balances in general fund, $3,464,284.26. Total daily deposits and assessments received for period 5/20 through 6/4, $32,061.14. Expenditures over $5,000 for 5/20 through 6/4. ABM Landscape, $38,691.16. Florida Power and Light, $6,154.24. Health First Health Plans, $21,448.56. Family Pools, $24,536.86. Special District Services, $13,264.14. TLC Engineering, $21,600.50. Payroll taxes, $13,188.66. Payroll, $45,042.48. Total expenditures over $5,000, $183,926.60. I submit the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Randy. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Luann made a motion, second by Roger. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next is the audience participation. John, since they can't hear me when I'm on the thing there, I'd like to have you take it over and get their name and address, and also make sure they know it's 3 minutes. Thank you, John.
Welcome to AT&T's teleconference service. Please enter your access code. To join the conference as the host, press star. Otherwise, please enter your host password followed by the pound sign. Please enter your billing identifier followed by the pound sign. You entered 111009. To accept, press 1. Otherwise, press 2. To re-enter the unit, there are 2 participants on the call, including you. You are joining your conference as the host. For menu of available commands, press star pound.
Hello, you're at the DOT meeting under audience participation. Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Lorraine Andrews, 151 Chippewa Drive. I'm calling in reference to the golf cart path. I do not feel we need additional golf cart paths in the common areas. All we need to do is follow the restrictions and the rules that are already in place. Again, common grounds the way they are. There is a walk path for people to walk on, and people should be aware that there are no golf carts allowed on that area. Again, I am not in favor of adding additional golf paths. Also, as far as cars parking on the green area, I do not feel that should be allowed. It has never been allowed before in the past. And again, we just need to start enforcing our previous restrictions. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak?
Yes, this is Carol Joseph.
Okay, state your address, and you have 3 minutes.
Carol Joseph, 966 Waterway Drive. I'd like to talk for a minute about the pools. I have the water aerobic class, and it was usually in pool 1 at 10, and that class has been going now for a long time. I've spoke with the people who have the hydro water class at pool 3 at 9, and they would very much like to get back, and they would like to keep their regular time at 9 o'clock at pool 3. Our class would be very happy to go over to pool 3, perhaps after they're done or however the schedule works, but we are eager to get back to our classes, and we'd appreciate the trustees' consideration of that. I also want to commend the board and Mr. Coffey and his staff for the fine job you're doing for us here in the Bay. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Bye.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Anyone else like to speak? I'll hold it open for a minute. Or?
Okay, audience participation is now closed. An unfinished business, phase reopening discussion. John?
Mr. Chairman, trustees, residents watching at home, per the BOT's direction, we opened the pools on Monday. I'm very happy to announce that there were no problems with anybody. Ironically, only one of the slots at pool 3 reached capacity, and that was on Monday. And so whenever the board is ready to go to additional phases, staff will be ready. I did send an email to you yesterday about some possible changes to phase 2, dealing with building D and E being opened instead of building A, and the timing of when we could open the 19th hole and the lounge. Just for the folks watching at home, if the board were to open the lounge under the governor's phase 2, which is different from BBRD's 4 phases, we would not be able to have music playing or live entertainment because that triggers it being a nightclub, and nightclubs are legally not being able to be open right now. To briefly address what Ms. Joseph talked about, I did reach out to the 3 exercise groups, and as I told you yesterday, Ms. Joseph was able to get a little flexibility off of the hydrotherapy folks, but the lap swimmers still want to be at pool 1, so I'm not sure what to do there. The logic of moving everybody to pool 3 was twofold. Later in the summer or early autumn, we'll be closing pool 1 to replace the pit, so group exercise there would not be allowed. But under phase 2, capacity at pool 1 goes up to 54 people, including staff, where pool 3 is up to 27 people, I believe, with staff. So you would still be able to have a lot of regular sunbathers and swimmers in pool 1, while pool 2 is closed to general use for the exercise groups. Under the 4-phase proposal that my staff and I developed a while ago, we did not have the group exercising open till phase 3. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them best I can.
Yeah,
Trustees?
Mr. Coffey, under phase 2, would the exercise people's issues be resolved by moving into phase 2?
Phase 2, as originally proposed, does not have group exercise. I was trying to put them all into pool 3 in the morning hours. Traditionally, the lap swimmers were the first ones in the pool and pool 1. There is a perception out there that pool 1 is a very much larger pool than 2 and 3, but it's a perception that the pool deck and the lake helps create. 2 and 3 are slightly smaller, but they're basically the same size pools.
So, John, the exercise people then understand it. So you agreed to, if we do open up, you could put them in pool 3 or 2?
3.
In 3.
I think we could put them in pool 3.
But how much would that take? Like the lap swimmers, they do that what, every day?
Yes, all 3 of these groups. Aqua Zumba stated that they don't have an intention of opening up until September.
Okay.
But all 3 of the groups meet every day.
So if you put them in the morning, is it an hour each that they meet? Or so they take
Yes.
up pretty much the whole morning in pool
Yes.
3 then?
Yes, because there's a limitation of how early we can open the pools because
Okay.
we have to have the pool techs in. And if you try to open up earlier than 9 in the morning, you've got the pool techs coming in at 1 in the morning, which it's hard to get folks to come in at 4 to work a part-time job to begin with, let alone at 1 or 2 in the morning.
So that would actually eat up maybe 3.5 hours or 4 hours in the morning, and then after that, the rest of the residents can go swimming there and everything.
Well, finish my question on that.
I'm sorry.
I don't go to the pools very often, but I do hear from these other people that live in our neighborhoods, and we live near pool 3. It's fairly close. My wife, I think, goes to pool 1. But I know there was controversy before, wasn't there, about certain exercise groups going in pool 2 and all of those kinds of things. You're not, thinking if you put all those exercise groups every day in the morning, you're not going to get bombarded by pool 3 people?
We've been getting bombarded about something as long as I've worked
Right,
here.
right.
The reason I mentioned that there was no incidences, because I think most people were assuming there was going to be grumpy people
Right.
showing up, and everyone who came to the pool was very understanding, appreciated the measures we were taking. There's one resident who liked being at the pool a long time. She'd go out, stand in line for 15 minutes, let us sanitize, and come back, and she never had a unpleasant word to say. She appreciated what we were doing. I think what you're referencing and I'll keep the story very short, but there was a perception that Pool 3 was not sanitary at one point, and a group exercise asked to be moved to Pool 2, and Pool 3 was still open, but nobody wanted to go there, and that's when we literally had to call the sheriff's deputies in because people were kicking each other in the pool. So Mr. Klosky can remember pool issues, but I think giving a pool capacity under Phase 2 of 54 people over to group exercise folks, you're telling everybody else in the Bay only 25 can go to Pool 3. And
So my final question, and then I'll let you go with the rest of it. So the groups then did not agree with their schedule? That's what you're saying?
from what Ms. Joseph communicated with me, the hydrotherapy people changed their mind this morning and agreed to go to Pool 3. But
Okay.
I don't know if she got hold of anybody with the lap swimmers or not, but the last communications I had from the lap swimmers is that they wanted to stay at Pool 1.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Just-
John, if they the other two want to agree with it, we're gonna do you believe the board should let them do it. I like to see them do it. Then,
Well,
if the board is interested in letting them do, then let them get their exercise till they finally go into the phase 3, which will be going back to Pool 1.
Part of what makes this complicated is we don't have representatives of the lap swimmers here right now. So if
Okay.
we were to say, whenever we go to Phase 2, if it's going to be soon, that the hydrotherapy and the group exercise folks Ms. Joseph represents, they can have the first 2 slots in Pool 3, but the lap swimmers still don't. The 5 of you probably will be pestered by the lap swimmers until the next meeting to find a slot for them.
Well, I was trying to make them happy. And things there. So go ahead.
Are we talking like everybody's like for going to phase 2? I'm not too sure.
Well, we're not there yet. We're just trying to
Well,
figure
no,
out.
I know, but that's what I'm about. Everybody's sort of talking like,
But I
yay,
guess
let's go.
I'm not, if staff comes up, as we discussed, whether we go to phase 2, which I'm sure we're going to be doing, if staff comes up with a proposal as to how we can do this, I'm not sure I want to say in any way that, well, we're going to change this and put them at a different time. So if you meet with these people and you come up with a schedule and it's not acceptable to them, so be it. If there's someone who can go to Pool 3 and put it in, as we discussed going to Phase 2, I'd say, fine, let them in. But I'm not sure we should change to any other pool if your schedule of your staff is the way you presented it. So,
my concern on this is we're doing everything that we can do to accommodate all residents and getting these things open as quickly as we can, as safely as we can. If we've got residents or we've got groups that say, I'm not going to be lenient on my scheduling or I'm not going to be flexible in how we get there, that's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate because we need everybody to be a little bit more flexible right now as we open up. So my stand on that, while I feel for them and I really support them, is if they cannot be flexible, then we move forward without their flexibility. I'm sorry if they miss it, they miss it. But if they can be flexible and work with us, they make our life easier, we can make their life easier.
Thank you, Randy.
This isn't
I
a
agree with that.
situation where I want window seating. We're lucky to get seating right now.
especially, Randy, because even in Phase 2, groups are prohibited already. So
Yeah.
we're already considering letting them in earlier, and, they need to be flexible.
Yeah, I agree. So if there's flexibility, then I think that we've got a conversation to have on our phase opening now. If there's not flexibility, then they're not part of the conversation.
Well,
So-
if there's not if we come up with a schedule that says, is at Pool 3 from 9 till 10:30 or whatever, and that's the way it is. I agree to that they have to be flexible. If they're not flexible, then
So let me.
they need to, excuse me a minute. That's okay. They just need to understand that this
And it's
is
not
a whole
forever,
new
it's
world.
for now.
So So let me put this out there then, because this is really probably where the discussion maybe needed to have started. My desire in the beginning has been to follow the lead of the state. I believe that when the state began to tell us to shut down, I believed we should shut down. Now the state's moved into phase 2, and I believe not only has Florida moved into phase 2, New York City's opening up, New Hampshire's opening up, or I'm sorry, New Jersey's opening up. Everybody around us is opening up. We need to move to phase 2, subject to any limitations that the state may have imposed as part of that phase 2, and maybe subject to any limitations that just good business sense would make for us. And then staff has the ability to look at what's allowed during phase 2 and schedule the pools and the other facilities in the way that best meets the parameters we've been given under phase 2 by the state. And if it means moving some people around to some different pools or whatever, but we need to take that next step, because that next step allows us additional people into the areas, and it will make accommodating not just I respect the people who get up every morning and swim laps and exercise. I wish I had the fortitude to do it. But there are also people who just want to come and soak in the sun, who want to gather with a few of their friends around the pool and enjoy that social time that's important to them. And I think it's time we, first of all, say we're moving into phase 2. Staff can work the details that haven't been quite figured out yet, but we can move forward in that direction then.
I don't disagree with moving into phase 2. I think that the board obligation isn't to tell the homeowners when or how to use their time or where to go or even how to be safe. Our position up here, I feel, is to protect staff. As long as we adequately have staff protected and management has taken responsibility for their safety and security, I'm comfortable with it.
And so far, we've demonstrated our ability and willingness to do just that. So, and maybe that needs to be a motion. Let me put the motion out there that we move into phase 2, subject to any limitations that the state may have that could affect our phase 2 plan. That would be my motion right now.
Mr. Compton made a motion. Need a second? Go ahead.
Clarification, is that with the recommended changes that I mentioned about instead of building A open, this is opening, and
that would include your 2 or 3 modifications that you have sent to us.
Okay.
And again, those things made sense to me. They were prudent changes to make, and I think they enhance the rationale for us to move forward into phase 2.
You mean, John, in the building A or D&E?
well, the
I'd rather see,
building A under phase 2 is recommended to be the only building that's open, but I recommended making D&E available at a 35-person capacity instead
and
of
the
building
building
A.
A would,
Building A
would
would
be
stay closed because
closed, yes.
they would be they're applying for the permit next week, so it's just a matter of a few weeks before that project actually starts. And then we talked, the 19th hole, the earliest that could open would be like June 22nd to 23rd, where the lounge could open next Friday at the earliest.
There is a motion on the floor. I need a second.
I'll second it for discussion.
Go ahead.
We opened so slowly and did it, and I'm so proud of everybody for being right on the stick here. I just think that people are pushing. Now, I'm just not sure that I actually want to go there. I don't know. I'm a little concerned about. I mean, maybe it's just me, which could be, but it just seems like we went from nothing to yay, and not maybe yay, but yay. I'm just a little concerned about this. maybe it's just me, maybe going from 27 people to 54, including staff, and I.
Phase
I-
2 is still pretty limiting. Phase 2 has a lot shut down.
Well,
But everybody around us,
yeah, but we're
around
not.
us,
Well,
is
that's
open up.
okay. Everybody around us, let everybody else open up. That's
And
fine.
whatever's
for them.
out there, those people who are going to those venues, it's there. If there's something out there, if there's a danger out there, they're bringing them back anyway. So I don't know that we gain anything by continuing to be to err too far on the side of caution.
Roger makes an excellent point. People are out doing their thing. We can't be responsible for what the homeowners are doing. We can't. We can take some responsibility for length of grass. We can take some responsibility for the looks of the home. I mean, we have some measures in place. Their behaviors and what they do and where they go and who they go with and how many go and how many are in a car. We have no control over that. We shouldn't even try to control that. That would be herding cats. And we shouldn't be doing that. Again, I've got to say, as long as we are doing what we are challenged to do, and that's keep our staff safe, follow our management recommendation, and make sure our management's giving us good, sound recommendation, which he has. And we can't do anything about what the homeowner wants to do, whether that's inside the bay or outside the bay. We've got the amenities in the bay. It is their amenities. Let them utilize them. I do believe that we need to have some restrictions that we can control. We can control how many come and how many go, and what the rules of the road are as far as temperature and as far as capacity, whether that be for the lounge or the 19th hole. And it's out of our control what they do, and we're not protecting anybody from this virus by our amenities being closed at this point. They're out at the different places all around. All we're doing is making it inconvenient for them to utilize the pool if they want to.
Yeah, and Trustee Loveland, arguably, I would say that we are probably safer by opening up and trying to keep as many people as we can here in the Bay, rather than having them go out and go to these other venues where there are many people and largely uncontrolled. I understand, if you go down on the river, and I've been down there, while they are making an effort to social distance and so on, there's not a lot of social distancing going on at some of the venues down there. So we may be safer long term opening up some and keeping as many people here in the Bay enjoying what we have rather than going outside the Bay.
Mike?
Yeah, I know you all want to open up and things, and I agree that we have to start looking to open up. I disagree, though, in what you're saying when you say that we can't control what they do. We absolutely can control what they do. We make the rules for how we run our amenities, and they have to abide by the rules. And the thing we're doing is, you say we can't protect our people. You can protect the people, even if they go outside somewhere else. If they don't have those facilities to go to here, they can't spread it as around to the people here. It's really that simple. That's the whole idea. You keep people away from being together, touching the tables, touching things, being in close contact, and then you don't spread it. Now, again, you open everything up here and people go out and bring something back, like you just said, and now they touch every single thing that we have in the Bay because it's all open. Absolutely, it can spread easier. So we're not protecting them. Having said all of that, on top of that, whether we have so many people out there that have such absurd, stupid things they say about this whole thing, and they just don't sit down and look at reality. If you look at what's happening in the last week, it's the largest increases in cases and deaths that we've had in the whole crisis. It's just it's redundant to think this thing is not going to spread further and that it's not spreading further because everyone is opening up in New Jersey, New York, and everywhere. So, again, I know we have to open up. I'm not against opening up. You're looking at the lounge not earlier than what, the 19th, and you're looking at the 19th hole the week of the 22-26, I believe it was. You pick a date there, and I will vote for it, but I have to make sure I'm on record saying that I do believe we can protect people here. I do believe we can control what happens here. They don't. If they want to, they can run for the board. They elect 5 people to make those decisions for them. And I just think we're getting in a little bit too soon. But, again, I'll go along with opening up, but it sure can't be before somewhere around that 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 time zone.
Well, yeah, I want to clarify. I didn't mean that we couldn't protect people. I can't take responsibility if my neighbor Betty wants to go out and go down to the river and go here and go there and go to a concert of 5,000 people. I can't stop her. That's when I say I can't protect her. That is her responsibility. Now, if my other neighbor Barney decides to stay home and protect himself, I can encourage that, but I can't make him stay home. I can't make that choice for him. And you're right, Mike, we can make the rules, and that's what I was referring to. We can make the rules of access, the rules of capacity, and the rules of policy and procedure that we can follow. So you're right, from that perspective, we absolutely have a responsibility to protect the community. But as far as like protecting an individual member of the community, they literally are going to do what they want to do.
Right, and again, and I agree. Thank you, because what I'm saying is, and you agreed with that. What I'm saying is that we can protect the entire community by making rules that they all have to go by, and that was my point. So we can do that. So again, I'm not going to vote no on it if we go to opening up phase 2, but I need to make sure I'm on record saying, boy, I just think we have to be careful because this thing is not over.
I would go support with it, go into phase 2, but if things spike up and start getting worse than that or better, we can always go back and close that down. But I see with the lounge, I'd like to see it open. Would you say 19th, John?
Yes, that'd be the earliest we could open it.
John, one of the things you had, and it goes with Joe's talking about, didn't you, in one of your memos, didn't you suggest that you're looking at putting extra people on to make sure that whatever we do, that people do abide by the rules and how we're doing it, correct?
Yes, we're currently recruiting temporary pool host crowd monitors to ensure we don't go over capacity and also to ensure level of sanitary
Because,
conditions.
I've heard twice that, by the way, pool hosts at Pool 3, I heard they've just been fantastic with people. People are just so happy with them that they're just doing it the right way. They're pleasant. They're smiling. Their kids are coming in, and they're just being really good with them. And I appreciate that of our staff. But I also have heard that people, as soon as they get in Pool 1, within 10 minutes, they're kind of forgetting that we have a COVID deal out there, and all of a sudden they're getting together, all of a sudden they're doing it. So I appreciate the fact that you're looking at putting other people on to make sure that, not that we police them, but that we remind people when we do open up, we still have certain rules we have to go by with the distancing.
The 19th hole, they're going to lay the floor in the kitchen. Am I correct?
Yes.
And what else has got to be done there besides just that?
Just the flooring. To do the flooring in the kitchen, we have to take all the equipment out of the kitchen, and some of the equipment is too large to go out the back door, so it would go out into the bar dining room area, and so that's.
So when they do later, I'd like to see it I don't want to see a hurry-up job. I want to see the staff is going to do that?
No, a contractor. The
contractor's gonna do
material's
that?
scheduled to arrive next Thursday, and they would be
Okay.
in next day to start on
I
it.
figured I'd let that rest a little bit, maybe then clean up stuff and then do whatever it has. So if that would be, I'd like to see maybe 19 hole not open until the 1st of July. And that's up to the board if they like to see that thing go that way. And the lounge, you want at the you said the 19th? And we'd go on the 30% capacity as in phase 2. And there'd be no outside, so and the distancing and everything. So I would go along with that and everything. But if there's a little spike is starting, we're going to start increasing with this and everything. I would be willing to shut it down again because I don't want to see people get sick and all this stuff. So I know there's people don't listen around here. They do, but some of them you see through the different states and everything, especially with this. What they're fighting in all these different states, they're not wearing masks, not protect themselves, no social distancing, and all that stuff. And I just can't see that stuff. So I know Roger made a motion, Luan made a second. So
Well, Mr. Chairman, again, we have a motion on the floor now that has specific dates in it already.
right,
Again, Roger,
We
I
can,
know you want to get it open, and I appreciate that fact. What is the latest date you would look at, even if to amend your motion, if we opened up in phase 2? I mean, what date would you look at?
Well, the dates, our pools can open up to more people relatively quick, right, Mr. Coffey?
Right.
So the issue is just the pool, the lounge, and the 19th hole, really. And,
Right.
And you've already established those dates that you feel like we could open up. And so those are the dates that I'm proposing.
So you're saying the 19th for the lounge, and he said the week of 22, 26 for the 19th hole. What do we want to pick a date? Do we want to just leave it to them,
that is
or
the date, right?
John has already put, I think, dates in there.
yeah, but I
the date established that he believes would be the prudent date.
okay, but I did say if I go with the 19th hole with all the stuff they want to do here and everything, they do it the right way. I want to see that the 1st of July where the lounge can be on the 19th. But it's up to the board.
I don't think, if you're going to open it up, why wait till the 1st? I
Yeah,
mean,
you're- yeah.
the people will be insane.
that's what I was trying to say to Roger, is that if you're going at the pool on the 19th, I mean, I agree the pools, we could go to phase 2 very easily, no problem with that. Building D&E, we're not concerned about that. You can schedule that in. If you're going to the lounge on the 19th, that'd be fine. I'd go along with that. But again, do we want to pick a date for the specific date for the 19th hole?
If you do, I'd encourage you to be towards the end of the week, because...
Well, could we do them both on the 26th, or 19 and 26?
Yeah, that would be fine.
And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with
Yeah, I
that.
am too.
This may or may not have to do with the motion, but we're changing phase 2 a little bit, because again, we're going to do a couple things different here, possibly with group swimming, et cetera, et cetera. In the 19th hole, and this is just for clarification, I'm not trying to get it, we specifically say in there are no chairs outside. What is the reasoning for that?
Just the wiping down sanitation.
Oh, okay.
You
People have asked me about it, and they say, well, geez, it'd be better outside, isn't it, because we're not close together inside?
it would, but we don't have like a camera out there to tell us when somebody gets up and leaves.
I gotcha, okay.
So Roger, you want to repeat your motion, what you want to do?
Yes, I want to move into phase 2 as it was written by Mr. Coffey and staff, with the dates that we've discussed for the 19th hole and the lounge specifically, and of course all this would be subject to any limitations that the state may have. And
So my question is just to say if it does spike up again. And
well, I'm not going to put that in my motion. If that's an issue at our next meeting, if we see that
Okay.
that's been a problem, then we can address it then. But I'm
fine
not
with-
going to assume
okay,
that
all
we're
right.
going to.
no problem with thing there. So that's the motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may I suggest you amend the motion to say if staff can find a way to get the three group exercise folks to agree to a schedule, we could implement that at pool 3?
Yes, and again, yes, I can amend it to say that, and at the same time, Mr. Coffey, as I said earlier, within the parameters of this opening, whatever staff needs to do to best accommodate the different groups and all, and provide an opportunity for them to do what they enjoy doing, then I'm okay with you and staff making those decisions and making those minor modifications to the plan.
Can I ask a question? When all these groups are in the pools, is nobody else allowed to go in the pool? I mean, do they absolutely have?
That's typically been the conflict in the past. A little history, when these groups started forming, there was a difference of opinion whether they had, quote, exclusive rights to the pool or not. And so you literally had some people refuse to get out of the pool, and Aqua Zumba folks wanted to get in. And so how it morphed over time was if you had a reservation on the calendar, like these three groups do, you have exclusive rights to the pool. Now, that doesn't mean if, for example, lap swimmers, somebody can't be bobbing up and down in the middle when somebody's trying to do lap swimming. And same thing if one of these groups isn't using the entire pool, they generally don't mind if somebody's at the other end. But it's a way of clarifying that if group exercise is from 9 to 10, you can't be in the middle of the pool just chilling.
Right. Well, then, so what you're talking is putting all the three groups in pool 3, which means pool 3 pretty much won't open for the general public until like 1 o'clock. Is that pretty much what it is?
Yeah, and that's why suggesting doing that in pool 3, because it's the smaller of the two pools. Right now, with the two pool capacities, you have 41 people can be in the two pools together. When we go to phase 1, pool 1 itself will have over 50 capacity. So yes, pool 3 would be shut down for just general use in the mornings, but still more people than right now could use pool 1. Where if you had those exercise groups in pool 1, you're looking at 25 people for the entire bay can use the other pool at a time.
Okay.
So if I understand the motion, we're going to phase 2, D and E, as instead of building A. We're going to adjust our pools to the capacity as soon as you can possibly do that. We're opening the lounge on the 19th, and we're opening 19th hole on the 26th. Is that the way I understand it? Okay.
Yes, that's the way I understand it too.
Any other discussion on that motion?
No, but I'll second Roger's amended motion.
Okay, Luann has to withdraw her first, the last motion, so she
was the second on it.
you were the second, so you have to withdraw your motion,
I have to withdraw my second. I withdraw my second.
because Randy,
Whatever.
Mr. Reppinger, I'm good, okay, go ahead. You withdraw your second.
I did.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I withdraw my second.
And
on
Randy
the first
And I
made the
second
motion.
On the first
the
motion.
amended,
Okay,
Roger's amended.
so, any other discussion on that motion? If there is none, all in favor of that motion with a voice. Roger,
Aye.
Mike,
Yes.
Luann, oh,
Okay, yes.
Randy,
Yes.
I'll go yes too, so it's unanimous, we'll go with that. Thank you.
Oh, wait, what was that? I just heard, yay, out there somewhere.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next,
Now the calls will begin, Mike.
Stewart Medical Group, proposed land lease. John?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. A gentleman with Stewart Medical Group would like to speak, and before I call him, I'd like to just give an overview of what was in the packet for anyone who's looked at it and has been following along. Basically, this has been amended. We went out and had a assessment done, and that's a multi-page attachment that is in the agenda packet that starts on page 24 of the agenda packet. And that's where they came up with $100,000 valuation on that parcel. Stewart amended their proposal based on that valuation, which brings in a $9,000 annual rent payment plus the reimbursement of real estate and taxes and insurance. What I'm putting up on the screen is the amended site plan that shows the entrance and exit off of Buttonwood Street, parking with some handicap and standard parking, water retention, and then the medical facility off to the side. That's new. They have within it their proposal. You're not taking a final vote on this today. Mr. Reppinger is looking forward to, and he's grimacing when I say that, but a land lease is usually a very thick document, and so this would be a conceptual approval of the terms that Mr. Reppinger and Stewart's legal team would work on over the next several weeks to bring you back something definitive. And the person I'm going to call now is Daniel Neal, president of the Florida group of Stewart Medical. And he's been working with Ralph Taylor, who has been before this board before.
Ralph Taylor is the one that used to come in.
Hello? Yes.
This is John Coffey, American Bay Community Managers. I have you on,
Yes, sir.
speakerphone with the Board of Trustees.
Oh, hello, folks.
Would you like to say anything and open it up to any questions they may have of you?
Well, I assume everyone's already seen the schematic that came through and has looked at the documents. I am the Florida market president. I've been working with Ralph Taylor and Sebastian Hospital to get this moving forward. We're excited to put a medical clinic inside the bay. I have actually identified a physician. I am looking for a nurse practitioner. If anybody has one in mind that we can talk with to recruit to put with our physician. But we're ready to move forward when you are.
Trustees have any questions to ask?
I'm not sure it's a question, but you're talking about paying us plus taxes and something $9,000 a year. Is that right? $9,000 a year? Because I don't.
Yeah, I don't have. I'm sorry.
I 9,000. That's what it says. 9,000 a year lease payment. I think that's not enough money. I couldn't agree to $9,000 a year.
Is there a term that you guys have in mind that would work? We just went off whatever the fair market value was, but if there's a amount or a term that you guys think would make this thing work and it would be reasonable for both of us, I'd be willing to move forward with whatever it is.
Well, I'm just saying that $9,000 a year is $750 a month. I mean, $750 a month, you guys are going to make a fortune, and I just don't think $750 a month is enough money. I'm depending on the other four people that are here with me to help me out with this, with a price, but I couldn't agree to 750.
Well, Luann, I come from this background, and I'm very familiar with land leases, and this is a good land lease. This is a reasonable amount. It's almost textbook in the way that it's written up. That land sitting there empty does now have $9,000 worth of value to us, and the taxes are covered. That land empty is costing us all the taxes. So it really is a good textbook example of a land lease of this type of nature. I understand why Stewart is wanting to do it this way. They don't want to be a landlord, so everything that they're doing is a lease, whether it's of the land, and I assume they're leasing the building that they're putting on there. So they probably have a company that has done this hundreds of locations for them nationally.
My question is not so much for Stewart Medical, and maybe this is when we're through with the call, we have our discussion. But I appreciate what Randy just said, because I probably don't understand it as well as you do, and I'm sure not going to look at these 100 and some pages of this thing here. We'd still be reading. But the question I have is, how is this acceptable to our staff and Cliff? And I mean, is this a good deal? As I looked through this, I don't believe I saw a recommendation, did I? There's no written recommendation in the minutes? I mean, in our agenda pack?
From my perspective, what they're proposing is a great benefit to the community. I think it comes down to, does the board feel the lease payment is satisfactory? And that's something that
But how would we, I guess, maybe, how would I know that? How would I really understand that unless the people who are the experts, and Cliff is putting his finger up, unless the people who are the experts tell me that, yes, this is a good, and maybe Randy's the expert, maybe I should listen to him. But I wouldn't know that unless you tell me that.
You don't
Mr.
know that.
Rippinger.
Oops. You don't know that. And I assume my mic is working. I'm not on the overhead. But you don't know whether that is a reasonable lease offering at this point in time, because you don't have that information in front of you. What I would suggest that you do at this point, if you're interested in moving this forward, and what I can tell you is, just without going into the details of it, because we don't need to, I can tell you that that lease proposal at that rate of rental is lower than other jurisdictions, governmental jurisdictions that are ground leasing in Brevard County. I'm aware of leases at the airport. I'm aware of leases in other municipalities. This is below that market rate in Brevard County. I won't get into
Can you just give us a percentage of lower then? Or?
Well, there's a lot of different, and this is the problem. There's a lot of different factors that go into the ground leases. They can be rather complicated, and part of what goes into the ground lease is what happens to the site upon expiration of the lease. Does the district get title to the structures that are there? What happens to the improvements that are made, and what's the value of the improvements? So there's various components that play into that valuation. So what I would suggest to you that you do for the ease of your discussion today, because you're really not at a point where you can get involved in the financial aspect of it or the economics of it, is to bifurcate the issues and say, if you're happy with this as a concept proposal, to indicate your willingness to continue to move forward with this plan. And what I would suggest that we do is we go out and possibly get an outside consultant as far as the lease agreement is concerned, the terms, at least on the rate, to give you some independent level of comfort that the rate that is being proposed or is either fair, or if it's not, what a reasonable counteroffer would be to that rate. Because sitting here right now, we don't have that knowledge. We need an independent consultant.
That's fine.
To tell
See,
us
I thought we already, I was already for this. I mean, I thought we were past that, and I thought we were actually accepting the amount, but we're not.
Well, we had the appraisal done to give us an idea of where we were at. Now we're kind of in that second phase of, based on that appraisal and that rate, where is that with regard to what the reasonable rate of rent should be for this site?
So staff hasn't actually negotiated this price Okay, well, that's fine. All right, that's.
No, this was just the
As far as
proposal
I'm
coming
concerned,
from
then
the-
I'm all for
That's it.
this, as long as staff negotiates a price that they think is fair and adequate.
Well, and we got to take in consideration too, and correct me, Cliff, if I am wrong. There's two parts to this. There's a tangible, and then there is a non-tangible. The tangible is, okay, the value of the land, blah, blah, blah. The non-tangible, in any lease that any government facility is going to be doing, there's a non-tangible. That's going to be, if they're putting in a retail business where there's a lot of traffic, that's a non-tangible value that you can actually put some dollar value on. They're coming into the middle of a community where it's not drive-by traffic. So for them, there is no really non-tangible value outside of the customer base that they would already have within our community. There's not outside customer accessibility. So you have to take those things into consideration too. For example, if I put a business in at an airport, I'm putting in where I've got a lot of non-tangible opportunity. I've got a lot of people flying through that airport. I've got a lot of people coming onto that airport property. So there is there's some actually financial value to that. So when you look at a lease, it's usually a percentage of the total value of the land. When you look at the lease, and if you guys are going to do the research on it, look at what the percentages are of those other leases throughout the county, and where they're located. Because some of that percentage is jacked up because it's a great location, or it gives them opportunity to increase their revenue.
Okay, so let me bring up my issue, and this is something that first of all, I fully support trying to bring Steward Medical Group into the community, and I know that the community largely supports it as well. And I've had both in private conversations with Mr. Taylor, as well as when he was here in front of the board. I asked the same question, and he assured me in both cases that it was going to be addressed, and I don't see it in the package that we have here. But my issue is I'm looking for some type of a guarantee or some accommodation that says that when they leave at the end of 5 years, or if they leave at the end of 3 years and elect to pay out the lease, what about the reclamation of that piece of green space that we have? Because when I look up at the plan they have, even if they pull their modular office away, we're left with a parking lot that really serves no purpose in that location and a retention pond that basically would make that lot useless, except for some very specific type of application. So we will have taken for really a few $1,000s, $9,000 a year over 5 years. We will have taken a choice piece of beautiful green space here in Barefoot Bay and turned it into something that now may have no further use. So my expectation is that this will somehow be addressed in the negotiation or in the contract that they give. And quite honestly, until it is some way, or I'm convinced that it's not necessary, then I'm probably not going to you're probably not going to get a positive vote for me on this thing. And that, they can up the price a little bit, or they can lower it a little bit, or whatever. But until this issue is resolved, I'm not going to be in favor of it. And I made this clear with Mr. Taylor the very first time he and I ever sat down and spoke about it.
Mr. Chairman, can we
Go ahead.
Can we make a motion that we then discuss?
Yes, you can make
Sir?
a motion. What do you want to do?
Well, again, get something specific to discuss. If we would do that, I would make a motion that we approve this concept and that we approve moving this proposal forward, and that it be brought back to us after staff has had negotiations having to do with the land lease price and reclamation, like Roger's talking about the property itself, to bring back a proposal to us then that we would actually look to approve. That it would be a recommendation from staff.
Okay, Mr. Minor made a motion. I need a second.
I would second that motion. I think it's a very
And I
good
meant to say,
idea.
Raj, I do agree with you. After a certain amount of years, 4 years, 3 years, they decide to leave. What do we got? We have nothing. That's going to be just, and you won't be able to do anything else with it. So, yes, I do solely agree with you on that. And
Yeah, I
thank you.
think
I
we're
agree.
all in favor
Yes.
of this.
We
Stuart.
are.
It's just, getting the details.
Yeah, Roger, I didn't, to be honest, it didn't occur to me that wasn't in here, because that was, every time we talked to these people, they were saying, when the lease is up, if we decide not to release it, that they would put it back the way it was. And
So you remember that discussion,
Yeah,
William, right?
and I, to be honest, I missed that it wasn't here this time, because, I don't want to, we need to have that in writing. They're going to put it back.
Ask him what does he want to, what's his proposal on? What does he want to discuss about it?
Mr. Neal, Chairman Klosky wanted to know if you had anything you wanted to say at this point.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, your points are extremely valid, and I apologize that we didn't have that in the forms now. I have a couple of points I'd like to bring forward. First, I don't go into this with an idea that I'm going to put a physician clinic and a medical office in for a period of 5 years. We typically do these things for long term. We're looking at the future of a hospital and a building that I just invested $80 million in that's going to be servicing the community, and we want to be a big part of the community. So it's not a 5-year venture. It's a long-term venture. I will absolutely, I have no problem at all putting a statement in that if anything happens and we withdraw from this lease or this lease ends and we don't renew, that we'll take it back to the green space it was prior. I think that's fair. I agree. You want to have usable space if I'm not there, but I have no intention of not being there. And we're doing long-term plans. I've been with the company since we started. We're 10 years into this, and I can extend the term of the lease. I can do auto renewals. I mean, however you guys want to manage it, but I have no doubt in my mind that we're staying, and we want to be there. So the language on reclamation is easy.
That sounds good. I like that. So, is the board got anything else to ask, Neil? No? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll be getting a hold of you or Ralph next week to schedule something. We can talk with Mr.
Absolutely. Work directly with me because it takes my signature to do it. So let's just, and I hate to say cut out Ralph, but cut out the middle people, and let's just move forward with me.
All
And I'll get this thing done,
Will do.
whatever you guys need.
All right.
Thank you all
Thank
for
you
your
very much.
consideration.
Thank you. Okay, there is a motion on the floor. Second. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. New business now, community managers evaluation report and the general counsel evaluations report. I have all this stuff here that the trustees put in. I did back in April, I passed out a questionnaire to all the trustees to evaluate both Mr. Coffey and Mr. Reppinger, and I got this receipt in the deadline by Monday. And on Mr. Reppinger, only one didn't send what he forgot about it, and he didn't issue one in because it was past the deadline. So he was happy, he was okay with it, and I was okay. It's too bad he couldn't do it, but he got busy with other stuff. But here I'll give you an evaluation report on Mr. Coffey's report. The one trustee gave a perfect score of 100. Another trustee gave him a score of 98. Another trustee gave him a score of...
Do we have a copy of this?
You should have a copy.
I don't have a copy.
So as I did say, one of the trustees gave a perfect score of 100. Another trustee gave him a score of 98. A third trustee gave him a score of an average of 87. Fourth trustee gave it a score of 98.4. The fifth trustee was 90.5, with an overall average of 94.7 for Mr. Coffey. And is any other trustees like to make any comments on this or not?
No, I would like to just make one comment. I think Mr. Coffey does an excellent job for the community. I think people who have been here for longer than 6 or 7 years really have an appreciation for the job that he's done, because they were here when it used to be a little bit of a nightmare and a Wild West show out there. And Mr. Coffey's done a lot to stabilize things. He's done a lot to give us a transparency here within the Bay. And so, all in all, I think he's done a wonderful job.
Yes, he did, and I agree with you. And Mr. Coffey knows where I stand with him on that, too. So he does a great, terrific job. So thank you, Mr. Coffey, for your great
Just
work.
to also comment, I explained this to John a little bit. We talked about one of the hardest things I ever had to do was evaluate people. Because it's very difficult, because you don't always see, and I evaluate a lot of people, believe me, every year. And what you really do is you look and you say, I have certain expectations for a person, and does that person meet the expectations that I have? Because other than that, you don't know a lot about what they're doing in other areas, how they deal with staff, how they do all kinds of things. So again, I'd just like to say also, based on the expectations I have of someone who would be running this organization, I think John is doing a great job.
Randy?
Well, I'm going to apologize to Cliff straight up. I am the trustee that did not get your evaluation in.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
That's okay.
Okay.
However, I will say, Cliff, you would have gotten a very good evaluation. You did get a very good evaluation.
You're ahead of yourself.
You did get a very good evaluation from me, unfortunately. We do follow the rules. I did not get it into Joe in time, and so therefore didn't submit it beyond that. However, I didn't want it to go unnoted that I think Cliff does an excellent job too. As far as John, I think John is wonderful community manager. I think he does a great job. I think that he deals with the day-to-day stress pretty well, and I'm amazed that he shows up every day for work, sober. And so, I keep
You're
it
only
up, John.
assuming.
Keep
You're
up
only
the-
assuming he's sober. You're only assuming that. Wait a minute. Did you
Oh,
give
yeah,
him a
he-
breathalyzer or anything?
No, you can tell he's...
So I'm
Oh, you-
I'm glad to have both of those gentlemen as part of our support and management of the Bay. Thank you.
I think they do a good job.
Thank you. Okay, we now go to General Counsel evaluation summary. I'll read that out too. One of the trustees gave him an 88. One gave a 98.5. Another trustee gave a 90. One trustee gave 73.5. And an overall average of 87.5. Mr. Reppinger, so what have you got to say for yourself?
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to serve the district.
Okay.
I don't know how I skipped that one thing, so sorry about
Has
that.
anybody got any comments on that?
Same thing here. Again, based on expectations, and again, I worked with a lot of attorneys, the school attorneys, and we're always there. And you base it on, if you're going to ask a question, you're going to look for input on something. Does the person respond? Do they respond like they know what they're talking about? Do they respond in an efficient, timely manner? And I think Cliff does all of that for all the input I've ever had with him. So based on that, again, great evaluation, Cliff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so what I want is somebody can make a motion on this. We need a motion? Okay, so we don't have it. So I just want to thank everyone for giving their input and everything. So thank you very much. So we good for another year. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the discussion of prohibiting parking on common areas. I noticed I read in Facebook some stuff, and I guess they got a little mixed up on it. I'm the one that put this agenda on the agenda. And the reason why I did is because I'm not against the golf carts being on those greens and everything, but when I'm upsetting me and everything, I see it all the time. It's up there on behind the shopping center, that back road there. There's numerous lot of people from those houses there, or whoever they are, parking their vehicles on our common grass there. And there was this past week. There was, I think, 13 or so vehicles. And one was a Penske truck thing there. Then there was a pickup truck with trash, everything on it, and then like I said, the rest was cars. And I did talk to John about it, and so I asked him to put on board. What I like to do is put no parking signs there, and some way maybe anybody that does park there and everything, since they're common grounds, that they don't belong to the people. So I like to see if they do that. Put it down, put a no parking sign and all this stuff. And if they keep doing that, would you have maybe go through a company or something like that and tow them away at their expense and everything. The same thing goes up there by the pickleball court, where that little wall is, where they mounted. I noticed there was a car there. The last couple of weeks, there was one car there. Out drives right up to the pickleball, not to the pickleball court, but to that wall there, and parks the car there, and then does whatever, hitting the ball and everything off the wall and everything. Or they go there and drive the pickup truck all the way down to the lake there to go fishing and everything. Well, if they want to park, they can always park it in the county media and walk over there and everything. So that's why I cannot see people driving over the common grounds. I have nothing about the golf carts. And the golf carts that I see on the pickleball or the tennis court or even the horseshoe, they drive up the Veterans Boulevard and go in the back behind the fence there, and they park there, and that's fine with me. And the other thing I'm not a little upset about is seeing these golf carts drive on the walking path. And I know that a couple of people told me about it. They say this is a walking path for the people, and of course they use their little language and everything, and that they can do wherever they want to go. But I don't believe that it's right. And like I say, many people believe that they own Barefoot Bay Common area and can do as they please because they pay their annual assessments. But there were people that had their social membership suspended or were trespassed for common areas when they repeatedly violate a rule. But as far as it goes, you want to go to, say, the Kennedy Space Center, and they got common grounds there too. I'm pretty sure you try driving around there and see what happens. So that's the same thing here. I'd like to see this stop if the board is interested in making some kind of motion to do what I suggested, put no parking signs, and also maybe have get a company, somebody that will tow those vehicles at their expense, and maybe might be a learning thing there of not doing it anymore. But because as far as it goes, I do not believe that the common grounds really belong to the people. They can drive around there, and as far as it goes, I haven't seen the golf carts go around there that much, and never. It's just vehicles, and the one that's upset me is on Hawthorne and everything. So, and even up by the tennis court there. But it's not the golf. It's not the people that play tennis or anything that they park their golf cart in the back, and there's no problem there. They're very obedient, and they listen. And of course, there is a sign in front there saying no parking in the grass. So I like to see it, put the signs up for no parking on grass and no parking at all and all that stuff. So what is the board's wishes?
Chairman Klosky, just for clarification's sake, and I think you cleared. I want to be sure the meeting package that came to us for this particular item said we were going to discuss restricting access for all motorized vehicles. But what you're telling me is that we're only talking about automobiles here.
Yes,
is
sir.
That right?
Yes, sir. Not the thing golf cart, because I'll tell you right now, the golf carts, they have certain sections they go through, and there's no problem with that. It's this here, okay, they go behind the shopping center, maybe a golf cart walking their dog or something like that. What, one or two? I would believe that that's going to hurt anything. It's the pickup trucks, the cars, and all that stuff.
Okay, that's fine. I found it ultimately confusing because the term all motorized vehicles to me applies
I understand that. I understand that. So that's no.
So let me ask, you mentioned putting signs up. Mr. Reppinger, and I'm not opposed to having cars towed if they're in an area that they shouldn't be parked. Is there a way, do we need to clutter the bay up with no parking signs in order to have a car towed that's parked on a grass area? Does every grassy area have to be marked with a sign that says no automobile parking here?
I'm not going to tell you. I don't know whether there's a law that requires you to post a no parking sign. If you don't, you may run into issues with the towing companies and whether they're willing to tow or not off the property. As the property, I don't know if we have had experience with that in the past, but if you're going to pass the rule, you want to make sure that at least the rule is as clear as it can possibly be,
right,
that there is no parking in that area. We can look into whether there is a requirement to post the signs. I'm not aware of one off the top of my head, so I can't tell you that you are absolutely required to do it. But I would suspect that there is a reason for them because, other than just to deter parking, because you frequently don't see towing from lots unless there is a sign that says that that giving a warning of a tow. So there may be something in the statute about that. But if there's not, we can look at that. And if you want to move this item forward with or without that as a component of us looking at it, and if we have to, we will, and if we don't, we won't.
Yeah.
we'll
Chairman
look
Klosky,
at
you
that
see
way.
my point, Joe. I would like to be able to accomplish what you want to do without having a no parking sign, having 500 no parking signs.
I
all
understand
around
if
Barefoot Bay.
maybe somewhere, where it could be advertised in the peak of the week and probably even on, I don't know if could you be able to do it on Facebook?
If you're going to have us tow somebody's vehicle that's going to cost them money to get it back, I strongly suggest you have us post no parking signs there, because there's going to be an irate person if it's a first-time visitor or something. And
Yeah, you would have to you would have to have some no parking thing there, because if they say, well, I didn't see it or there was nothing there, so
I just think you're getting into something that is just way something we don't need to get into. I mean, I understand. There are no parking signs right now on the boulevard right by the tennis courts. And I drove behind someone yesterday who pulled right across, right next to the parking sign, and got out of the car and went into the tennis courts. So if you're going to start towing people, and who is going to call, and who's going to police that, and who's going to report that, you want to talk about people talking about Big Brother. And I'm glad you're saying there's no cart, because the golf carts is a non-issue as far as I'm concerned. But if you start putting up signs and you start talking about towing people, I understand they shouldn't be on the common areas. But if you're starting to talk about towing people, you're getting into something I think that...
yeah, but I believe that if you, I'm sure that if I seen a sign like that, I'm not about that thing to park that car there and have it towed away.
My point is, though, like yesterday, that, my wife and I are right behind her. She just got out, and I kind of even pointed at the sign like, it says no parking. Didn't care. So what are we going to do? Who's going to get out and call someone and start going to do that? I mean, I'm sure as hell not going to do it. So I just want to make sure we're not getting into something where...
And I'm not so sure that, the occasional car parked on a green area who may be visiting somebody's got a little bit of overflow in at their home.
Good
To
point.
me, that's not a problem. However, it is a problem when people begin to use a certain green area as where they're putting their 3 cars out to sell them, or where they park day in and night in, they pull their extra truck over, and it just becomes their second driveway. That's a problem I have, not for those occasional people who need to park in the space.
Right now, I'm sorry, Luann. Right now, John, if with our no parking signs right now, let's say anyone rode by, staff rode by, and a car's parked on a place and it says no parking. What would we do? Anything?
Right now, we don't do anything. The thing that
It's just that we would think they'd abide by the rule.
Well, if the board was serious about wanting us to do this, we would have to find a towing company and have a deal with them, because towing companies won't just come out and tow a vehicle for free. They charge the landowner, and then they charge the person who redeems the vehicle from them. We had an RV break down and was abandoned several years ago at the beach, and it cost the district $750 to get it towed off our property, and I had to sign a form that said if the person redeemed their RV, we got zero of our money back. So there is a cost if we want to get aggressive towing, because we're going to have to pay them to come out and tow the vehicles, and we're not going to recover a penny of it.
And I'm not for that. I understand what you're trying to do, and I put a couple of signs up, that's fine. But if we're not going to enforce them, if we're not going to start getting into things like that with a towing company, which I would not be for, I think it's just a lesson in futility, actually.
But
I agree.
And I get your frustration, Joe. It bothers me too. When I drive by the pickleball court and I see 2 and 3 cars parked up in a green area when I own my land and I pay my taxes and I can't park in my own yard. That is annoying, and I'm sure it's annoying to a lot of homeowners. But if we put rules out here that we can't enforce, it's useless. All we're doing is talking about things we have no control over.
So now, meanwhile, what they're going to do is just going to laugh at it, because they'll say, we knew that nobody can do anything about it, so we think. But
No,
I would rather see maybe even no parking signs put up there.
I'd rather us take the effort. I mean, if we're going to do something and we don't want them parking there, then let's figure out a way to block the parking, or let's figure out a way that only a golf cart fits through there. I have no problem with any golf cart going anywhere in the bay. I really don't. I do have
no
a
problem
problem
with
with some of the automobiles that are heavier, where they can. And I think the pickleball court probably bothers me more than any place, because continued driving up there is going to rut that ground. When they go up there after a rain, the cars are going to leave ruts in the ground. Sooner or later, we're going to have just dirt paths up there, and it's going to look bad.
On the pickleball, they usually go in the back of the fence there parking. They go up the thing with a horseshoe pit and every horseshoe.
Well, they got to get to it.
What's that?
They have to drive through the lawn to get to it. It's not where they end up; it's how they get there. I mean, if we're going to do something, then let's figure out some way to put a block up, or if they're saying they need to park there because they have handicap, then let's figure out a way to put a handicap parking space there. But then they would.
If they're handicapped, why are they
See,
playing pickleball?
my biggest concern is the ones from Hawthorne, because the people on the other side, even during the week, sometimes when you can see them, there's 3-4 cars parked there sometimes, and it's those houses that across the street that parked there. Now there's a pickup truck there, and then like I say, Saturday there was a big one they call the Penske's truck. The big Penske's truck was parked there for 2 days, and that's what rattles me.
I agree with you, Joe. I think that over on Hawthorne, I think those people should be encouraged to move their cars. Maybe we could put up, what do I want to say, blocks. Somebody said blocks, or wooden things, or a fence. Something. Maybe we could do something like that. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying that's an option too. Put up no parking signs, and then do that. I mean, there's no parking signs right out here. And people park. I do. People park right out here, not for a long time, but I pull in there sometimes. But I suggested before that we take that green space back there and plant trees and stuff. And maybe if we got some trees and put them over there, then they wouldn't park there. I don't know. I suggested that before.
Trustee Kloski, would you like to workshop it?
Workshop?
Yeah.
Actually, that's not a bad idea. To workshop
Go
the
ahead.
green space
You want to go along with it? I'm happy to hear it. I'll go along with it.
in January.
After I leave. You know what's going to happen. I'll never see it.
Chairman, I think I understand your point. It's a good idea, but unless you're going to start putting military blockades up like they have going into bases, et cetera. I mean, I think it's just something that you got to look at. But I'm not in favor of anything where we're going to.
John, what if it like they have around Veterans Way there? What they had the ropes around it? Would that be?
Yeah, the bollards with the rope can be put in, but they can't be put in the right of way. So remember, we would be putting them in at the edge of our property, which is anywhere from 10 to 15 feet from the curb of the road. So you probably would be creating more of a parking issue along the edge of the road. They wouldn't, but then again, it's going to take us a long time to put in those bollards and concrete each
Okay,
one in.
my question there is, what I say is, if we put couple no parking signs just up here and even one up by the 10th thing, and then put it in peak of the week, what the board decided, how the board voted on that, and let them be aware of it.
Would
Is
it
that
be, I'm sorry,
Go
would it be
ahead.
an option to include in our deed of restrictions that parking on green common space is prohibited? And then that would give us the option.
Automobile parking, we're talking
Automobile parking.
Automobile
yes.
parking, yeah, pickup trucks and all that stuff,
Yeah,
yes.
that would be prohibited. And then we could treat it, in a way like we do with parking on the grass, except that if we see an automobile that's a recurring issue in a certain place, then we would call the wrecker. I mean, it would only take one or two cars being towed in those areas for people to get the idea that it's not going to be allowed. That would be probably more effective than trying to go through the code enforcement process.
Rod, you want to make...
Well,
Go
we,
ahead.
we could put that in the policy manual because the DOR doesn't apply to our common areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that would give us time to find a towing company that would work with us and publicize it.
Do you feel like that would be an effective way of doing it?
It's like you say, as long as we all can withstand the fury of that first person who gets their vehicle towed, I think it will send a message to the community. But yeah, I do think if you're going to do that, you need to put in the policy manual and give us time to try to advertise it widely and maybe even informally put under the windshield wipers of some of the offending vehicles, this is coming, so it's not a shock.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would be the easiest and less painful way and less costly
Okay.
way to approach it.
Tell you what, Rod, you want to make that in the form of a motion to cover up the detail and put it in the...
Well, this is your item that you've put on the.
But I think this
On the
is something, not whether you need a motion or not, that we should just encourage staff to publicize the issue about non-parking areas. You're not allowed to park there. Continue to publicize it. Make sure people understand about it, and just see where it goes. Because I mean, the
Okay.
more and more we go with this is getting like the pool temperature issue of last year. I mean,
Mr.
you know,
Reverend,
this
what,
is-
it should be a form of motion or what?
You can do that if you want to do that. I mean, you're certainly welcome to form a motion right now if you want to. I mean, you're free to do whatever you'd like to do. If you want to
Don't we need a
amend the
motion?
policy manual.
Yeah,
or,
we need a motion to put in the policy manual, don't we?
Well,
that-
maybe if I could make a suggestion, I think I have your intent. Let us bring back some proposed language for a policy manual amendment.
Okay.
That's why he got those great reviews.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much, board. Appreciate it. Next is okay, we already took care of that one. Next is the FY20 budget amendment NRP program. John?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the district recently sold 2 properties we had acquired through the NRP, and this budget amendment will recognize the revenues on the budget side of the $20,950 and add it back into the expenditure side. There is a resolution for Mr. Reppinger to read. Staff recommends approval.
I'd make a motion. We
He didn't
accept
read
his
it.
recommendation and we'll go from there.
Yes, and I'll second that
Wait,
motion.
well, I need to. Well,
My question before you even read it, Cliff, and we're putting money back into the RFP, to the NRP program, and offhand, do we know what's in there right now? Roughly.
Give me just a few minutes and I'll
Well,
get it
my
back.
question, I guess, is, I sit on that committee that meets once a year, and as I understand it now, we're pretty much at the 25,000 expenditure limit, correct?
That's the limit that we are on a $25,000 limitation on purchasing,
Right.
on the purchase price. That's
And the
correct.
purchase price of the things. And that is... and
Which is
that-
all inclusive.
What's that? It's
Which is all
all-inclusive, I understand.
inclusive.
I was there the day we had that discussion. And so my question is that is that the 25,000 in the charter part of it, or is that something that we set for the NRP committee, what they can pay?
It was based on the charter cap.
And so right now, even when we're sticking more money in there, it doesn't look like we're going to be doing much.
To answer your question, there's about 21,000 in available budget. Now this would basically double that amount. But that is, and that's part of the reason in trying to rebalance our budget for next year. I took the money out of the FY21 to add into the NRP because absent some change or crash in property values, the likelihood of purchasing additional property is going to be slim.
And so I guess my question, it's exactly where I'm going with this, is my question is, are we going to keep putting money in there and just have it sit there, or are we at some point going to say, let's raise the amount of money that we can use to purchase a property all-inclusive? And what would that entail? Or do we have to do the motion first? I don't want to get off track, but it seems redundant almost to put the money in there if we're not going to be able to do anything with it.
We're slightly off track, but if you want me to read the resolution title, I can do that, and then I can address the issue on what you would need to do after that. So, Resolution 2020-07, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Barefoot Bay Recreation District, amending Resolution 2019-03, amending the budget. What you would have to do in order to change that spending authority for the NRP is to go back and do the same thing that this board has discussed a number of times during my tenure here, which is to amend the charter to increase the cap. Now, keep in mind, that is a much more difficult exercise than it sounds because you need to have a referendum put on the ballot, and the resident electors of the district need to approve that change. There is and I think you may know this, but if you don't, I'll give you a somewhat brief history lesson on it. In 2007, the Florida legislature passed a special act related to Barefoot Bay to allow for the district to increase the charter cap up to $125,000, and it was subject to a vote of the electorate via a referendum. That item was put out for referendum, I believe, 3 times, and each time it failed. I may be wrong.
3 times
it
here?
was either 3 or 2 times. The first time it went out at 125. The full amount that the legislature authorized. The second time it went out, it was defeated at. I may have just said approved. It was proposed at $125. The second time it went out, it was proposed at $75,000, and I believe there was a second attempt at $75,000, if I'm not mistaken. But each time it went out, it failed. There is an argument to be made because the special act doesn't have an ending date. That this board could approve a referendum to again propose that change out to the electorate to see if that opinion in the electorate has changed.
This charter was started when? What?
1984, the charter was
And
adopted.
25,000 was the original amount in there?
Yes.
I mean, good God.
But
I mean,
again, and not to interrupt, but keep in mind, this is also a Florida statute, which is part of the problem, and that's why we need that special act to change that amount. What we have found, and we have talked to various members of the legislative delegation that have represented Barefoot Bay over the years, and what we found is if we don't have some level of indicator from the registered electors that they want to have that cap rate increased, then the legislature, or at least the delegation, doesn't seem to want to support it. The fact that that special act and the referendum that followed it didn't pass, or I just should say limited to the referendum, didn't pass, that's kind of an indicator to the legislative delegation that they don't need to raise it any more than what was proposed in '07. So, I mean, my suggestion would be, if there is some desire among the current board to have the cap raised or look at raising that issue, that your very first place to start would be to propose a referendum to try to get that approved under the special act from 2007. That would be the process that you would go through. So the good news is you don't have to go back to the legislature to get another special act. The bad news is you have to put it out for referendum, and then...
Well, my point is, we talk about buying some of these properties. We're just talking now about selling some of the ones that we buy and turn over, and we sell the land. The way we are now, we're not going to do anything more. I mean, because we're not. I mean, we know had the few that we wanted to buy, and we couldn't do it because we didn't have. We couldn't go at all over that $25,000 cap. So it's almost redundant what we're doing.
Well, I would somewhat disagree with that, in that there were a number of properties that were purchased that were in severely distressed state that needed to be purchased.
Right, but
that
those were
purchased
previous.
as
Where
part
we're
of
going
that.
now, we're looking at. I don't think we're seeing too many of those right now. I'm not sure.
I'm sure that Mr. Armington and his staff have quite an extensive list of target properties that they'd love to go get.
Yeah, I think they've been real successful actually at getting properties well below the $25,000 threshold. Mr. Coffey could probably speak to that, but I don't think that threshold shuts us down at all. It makes it a little harder.
Actually, we've lost a couple of them because of that.
There were quite a few of them that we did get under the cap threshold, and Mr. Compton's right about that. They were significantly below the cap. And Mr. Mino, you may be right as well. I mean, there may have been ones that were over the cap that we weren't able to purchase because of that. I can think of at least one of those properties. But as a whole, the process did work fairly well for the targets that Mr. Armington and his staff had identified.
And that's fine. I'm fine with it. I just wanted to clear that.
When we say we lost a property, I mean, I'm assuming that we're talking about we lost it in bid when we were bidding for that property against other bidders.
No. What the reference is, we were trying to acquire a property, but the total cost of what it took to give to the owner and pay off taxes and stuff exceeded the $25,000. And that's where the challenge is going forward, as everybody enjoys their property values going up, but the low end is also coming up because of the housing shortage in Florida. And we were successful in the last few years of getting a lot of the homes, but the ones now that we look at, trying to get them acquired for under $25,000 is getting to be a challenge, because there was that one house on the boulevard, a single wide, we'd like to acquire, and we couldn't acquire it because we couldn't get it totally under $25,000, and a person has bought it and he's flipping it as a rental property now.
There was a motion made. Who seconded?
Somebody did. I don't know.
You.
I'll second it. I don't remember who did,
There was
but I
a
will.
motion made on the resolution,
Right. Yes.
and somebody. Okay. Okay. So there is a motion made. Any other discussion on that motion?
Yeah, will somebody repeat the motion?
Do we want to
I'm sorry.
clarify that?
Trustee Mino made the motion to approve the resolution, and Trustee Compton made the second. We haven't read the resolution yet.
He did. He did. Read
We
it.
did. We did read it.
Yes, he did.
Yes. Any other discussion? If no other discussion on that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the selection of the RFP Evaluation Committee members for Shopping Center Roof Replacement Project. John?
Yes. A little background for anybody joining us in the last few months. The shopping center roof was replaced in 2014 with a flat roof was replaced with a low slope roof that therefore has chronically had minor leaks to it. We have made multiple attempts while it was under warranty, after warranty. The facility duty assessment last year came in and basically said, replace the roof. It was a bad type of roof to put on in first place. We had design done, which picked up a few minor code improvements, but also noticed that the grease vent over the restaurant did not meet code and was basically put in by a handyman or somebody that needed to be replaced. Trying to expedite this, and the fact that roofers tend not to like to write a lot of paper, we got your permission earlier in the year to forego the formal RFP process. We have had limited success. The ones who have given us bids have been so summary that Mr. Getz and I did not feel comfortable that they had the intent to do everything on the plans. So therefore, we come back and go back to sort of square one and request that you allow us to send out an RFP, hoping to get a GC to pick this up and sub out the roof and sub out the grease exhaust fan replacement. Policy manual has requirements that of the evaluation committee, one voting member is the trustee, one voting member will be Mr. Getz. I am going to name Gary Gresco, the resident non-employee voting member. And once you select one of yourselves, the lucky winner gets all this paperwork over here to study for the next 30 days. And this will be advertised in the paper on Monday and open up on Tuesday. We anticipate award a contract back to y'all August 14th.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Yes, I make a motion that we nominate Trustee Mino to serve on this evaluation committee.
I would actually be happy to do that, but I'm not going to be here. I'm going.
Good point. The first opening, the meetings are July 16th and July 23rd.
Yeah, I'm 24th. I'm out of here.
Yeah. Trustee Mino won't be here for those dates.
I already told John I'm going to miss 2 meetings in July. I'm gone to Montana.
So we got 3 left.
Have a nice trip. I'll do it if you're okay with that. I'll do it.
That's fine. I would nominate Luann to do it.
I'll second that.
Okay. So all in favor of Luann?
Aye.
Thank you.
And
Notice
again,
this.
just so
You
you
notice
understand,
the
I would have done it, but I'm not going to be here. I'm fishing
Luann.
fishing for 1 month.
You noticed
Wait, what?
you noticed the I was loud for you.
I did notice that.
I said
That's
you
okay, Mike.
noticed the I was.
We'll get you, Mike. Don't worry about it. We'll get you.
Okay. Okay, John. Go ahead. Luann is good. Yes. Go ahead. Now with the manager report.
95.8% of annual assessment receipts, or $3.7 million, have been received. The 26th ARC meeting, 16 consent items were approved, 1 was tabled, 3 others were approved, 1 denied, 3 tabled, 1 old business was approved. The ARC meeting today, of Tuesday, the 15 consent items were approved, 3 others. 1 was withdrawn, 1 was disapproved, 1 tabled, 4 old business tabled. Violations Committee met today. That's why you don't have 50 items on your agenda. Of the 35 cases on the agenda, 30 came into compliance. I'd like to recognize Mr. Armington and his crew for, being able to help people get voluntary compliance. The 5 were found in violation. Golf course, the first minor in-house lake bank restoration project is completed. The course verification is completed. The satellite box replacement projects, the equipment was delivered today. Installation should be sometime next week. And Mr. Cruz is working on soliciting bids for the irrigation design project. Mr. Getz and his folks have been busy as always, getting ready for the reopening of the pools. You'll notice the difference in the flooring here. What we look here is what we thought was a clean floor all these years. The thin strip is where there's no wax, and the nice glossy, thank you, Vanna. The part behind Vanna White is the new clean part. Staff will be doing the rest of this next week. Many other things going on. I won't read them all for you. A few general items. As I notified you earlier this week, there was a typo in the budget mail out. The adoption of the budget and the special assessment will be Tuesday, June 23rd at 7 p.m. in this building, but it'll continue to be closed to the public. People can view it on our website or watch the simulcast in Building A and call in through the conference call system. Some updates on projects, the Building A renovation project. Parkett Construction has secured the bonding and will be submitting the building permit package early next week, probably first thing Monday. Anticipate that start to be early to mid-July. The Lounge Lakeside expansion project continues. Ms. Mendes and I had a video conference meeting giving some additional feedback to the design team yesterday. The beach restroom project design of the engineering needs, the bore sampling vendor was on site yesterday, getting the compaction rates to design the drain field and determining the pad requirements for the structure. The Pool 2 pit replacement project vendor has submitted their Department of Health application this week. Pool 2 and 3 restroom roof replacement projects are completed. Lounge and Pool 1 walkway may be completed already. They were finishing them up today. They might be a day or so left next week. The pods in Building A, no, that's not getting ready for Santa and Christmas gifts. Those are for storage of the Building A kitchen and supplies during the renovation. And no secret in this room, but the trustees participated in a fashion show yesterday to help push our quality merchandise at the Pro Shop. There is a video going to be posted on the golf course and food and beverage Facebook pages. There's a 30% discount on apparel, 20% on accessories through Father's Day. And if you visit the Pro Shop through this Sunday and say the word video, you receive an extra $5. Kathy says the trustees were great sports and models and appreciate their time. And I have a little snippet. And all I can say is I'm glad of my evaluations already because I didn't test that with the projector. If you watch it on Facebook, there is no distortion of body sizes. So my apologies for anybody. I think Ernie needs to hit the gym. That's the last thing I'm going to say.
Any questions for John? Okay, thank you, John. Mr. Reppinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did not think I would be hearing music that cool in this room today. I just want to say thanks very much for the evaluation and the critiques in the evaluation forms. I read them all and we take it to heart. There's a number of different things that we do in serving the district, and even though I don't talk about them every meeting, I just felt like for the general public and people who are watching who don't really know what general counsel for the district really does, it was worth mentioning just some of the areas in which we serve the district. Some of the things that we do, we handle your liability cases in terms of your communicating with your carrier adjusters, and staff does that as well. Communication with outside counsel on those litigation matters or liability cases, your typical slip and falls, those kind of things, but also involving housing discrimination type cases and those things that fall under your policy but that require communication with outside counsel and the carrier. We do contracts, including, as you know, capital improvement contracts like the Building A improvement contract that we just finished, all the district contracts and leases, NRP and deed transfer issues, title issues with regard to those properties, employment matters, including wage and hour issues, assessment issues, election qualification and compliance with state and federal law and the district's annual filings, resolutions, rules, and policy manual adoptions, all of your review of governing docs and DOR amendments, and of course your various referenda that go out and your day-to-day resolutions here. So there's many different aspects that we deal with from month to month, even though you may not hear about it at every meeting. One of the things that Mr. Compton mentioned last time, which we haven't done a very good job with, is updating you on the status of the DOR cases. We do have right now, and the last time that we really got into a involved discussion about it was at our workshop on the 29th. Since that time, there hasn't been a tremendous amount of movement on the cases, in part because of COVID. But I can give you just an overall status update, and then I'm going to tell you where we're going from here. So right now we have a total of 36 DOR cases that are active. Of those cases, we have 5 of them that are actually in litigation, 2 of them that are being held at staff's direction based on their working with the property owners. One of the cases that was on the list of properties that I gave you, at that time it included 32 cases on the 29th, has come into compliance. That is 707 Periwinkle Circle. That came into compliance in May. So right now we're handling, out of those cases, there's about maybe 28 of them that are getting ready to be sent into the litigation process. Now, obviously, as part of COVID, we got into a situation where we were on the verge of filing a bunch of them, and then we couldn't serve anybody, so we didn't file them. 3 cases that are in litigation are in the active litigation stage. From that list were some of the most problematic properties. One of them was 715 Barefoot Boulevard. That property, just to give you a brief overview, came into compliance because of the litigation, then came back out of compliance, according to Mr. Armington. So the case hasn't been resolved yet. It's still in active litigation, but I guess it came back out of compliance after it was in compliance. So we're going to be addressing that one. One of them is one property that they were working with the owner, 526 Persimmon, but that doesn't appear to be going anywhere, so that's going to get moving now that the restrictions have been lifted, and also the 803 Beach case, which was the dog case, which you're all aware of in the response that was filed in that case. So we're dealing with that. You will be getting, and you don't have it right now, so I'm not going to really get into like specifics about the cases, but you will be getting a spreadsheet. What we will be sending you is a spreadsheet that will have all of the cases listed on it, and the status of those cases as we go. There are 10 cases that we right now are prepared to go into and file in litigation. So we will be filing those cases. I don't know whether it will be before the next meeting that we meet, because it's only a week and a half, but before the end of June, those 10 cases will absolutely be filed in litigation. So, and then we will be looking at the remainder of them and moving them into the litigation process as well. So we have, just to let you know, I have found, especially recently, I obviously you know that I transitioned law firms May 4th. Part of the reason why I transferred law firms was because of this law firm's ability to handle litigation, which I have found over the last couple of weeks is far superior to my last two stops. So I'm very pleased with that. We have also hired this week an associate, Krista Runty, who actually was with Rossway Swan and actually sat one of your meetings. You may remember Krista sat one of our meetings. She's a specialist in litigation, and she is coming on to help us in part with the DOR cases. So all of that being said, you should see a tremendous amount of movement on these cases within the next several weeks. I will caution you that litigation is not necessarily a spectator sport. And so it, from week to week, month to month, maybe there may not be a whole lot in terms of resolution of cases. You may see active things happening, but it can take a little bit of time to get from starting point to ending point, and ending point is a judgment, and then after that, if there's non-compliance, then you can move into some type of a sanctions process. So, I mean, it can take time to get there, but we are on that path of getting there. The courts are somewhat backed up because of what has occurred. They were doing essential-only proceedings for a while. Then they moved into Zoom proceedings, and I can tell you, based on some of the court, it kind of depends on what judge you get and what docket you're on, but some of those dockets are relatively backed up. So we're going to do what we can to set hearings when we can set them. We're doing them right now by Zoom. Or actually, they're using Microsoft Teams and Zoom. It depends on the court. Some are using Zoom, some are using Teams. It's the same kind of concept. You're doing them electronically. So we're not actually back full time in the courts yet. But you will be getting this, and this will give you some idea of where we're at and where we stand, and hopefully you'll see that the cases are moving forward as you've directed them to be. And when we can get compliance, we will tell you, meeting to meeting, any cases that come into compliance, when they come into compliance, those meetings. And so that's where we stand right now. And if you have any specific questions on specific cases, you're more than welcome to ask.
Mr. Rippinger, how about 414 Barefoot Boulevard?
414.
You got 6 cases there.
414, if you just give me 1 second. .414 is one of the case. There was a new case that was added to it. That is one of the 10 that's going to be filed. So that before the end of June, there was a new case that was added to it May 26th. But yes, that is one of the cases that's identified.
Because we actually have about 51 together, and you got there's 3 old cases here from 2016. Are they being? You're working on them too?
All of that includes all of those cases. Yes.
What's your chances of getting it done by December?
Well, the chances of them all being in active movement and on the way to resolution is 100%. Whether they will all have final judgments on them, that I cannot assure you, but I can assure you that they will all have been filed on and will be actively moving at that point.
Try hard.
Well in advance of that point, I might add.
Now, my next question is, I can't think of the thing, the one with the flower shop.
Blissful Things, and that is also on the list of ones that we're trying to resolve.
That's been delayed
by June.
because of the COVID.
Yeah, you couldn't do a final judgment request before then, but now you can.
Let's put it this way: I'm putting a little faith in you that you'll have it done before I leave.
We're doing what we can. It'll be my going away present to you.
Thank you very much.
I have a question, Cliff. If we would decide to go ahead with a referendum on the $25,000 cap, and we wanted to get it on November, how soon do we have to decide that? Yesterday?
Relatively soon. I would say by July. At one of the meetings in July, you'd want to be putting that together. Because
so we still have a few weeks so we can all think about this. But if we want to get this on July.
It would be July that you would make that determination.
Okay, thanks.
Sooner the better. But yes,
Any other questions for, are you done, Mr. Reppinger?
that's all I have.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Reppinger? Okay. So now we come with the incidental remarks. Randy,
I have none this week.
you have none. Roger,
No, I just want to say that as for myself, I had a great time yesterday working with Mr. Cruz and Miss Mindy's out modeling some of the golf course wear. I'm not a golfer, but we're actually all supporting some. We're all wearing some of it today. Very
Right.
comfortable. You know, it's something you could wear to any place around town, down on the river or wherever. So I would recommend that our community go in and support the golf course and the pro shop and look at purchasing some of what they have. I think you'll enjoy it. I'm a little curious as to how many weeks it'll take to repair the tee box that Randy damaged pretty well trying to drive a ball. But I suppose it could have been worse. I'm trying to talk Chair Trustee Mino into giving Randy some private lessons. I think that would be very helpful for Trustee Loveland, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
thank you. Luann,
I have to say, I really have not. Yesterday was fun. We don't look quite like the pictures that you saw earlier. And we'll figure that later. And
that's it? Mr. Mino,
A couple things, yes. I agree with Roger. We enjoyed yesterday, and I don't think there's any doubt that if you go in and get a nice outfit like this, it'll take at least 2 strokes off your score. So I think everyone should go to the pro shop and buy something new. Maybe it won't take 2 off of Randy's, but, we'll see. The only other thing I have is, as we end the summer and get into the fall, there are a number of things that I'm going to want to talk about and bring up, but right now, one issue, I think, because the most emails and the most calls that I've gotten about, other than opening the pool up in the lounge, is this beach step business. And I talked to Mr. Coffey about this, and he explained how where we are, how it was built into a sand dune, and we can't go any further east, we can't go any further south.
Right.
We have nothing to do there. However, it still is. I went out actually and looked at it one day when we were going to the beach, and I don't go to that beach very often, but it is, no question about it, it is probably a hardship for some people. So I guess at some point I would ask staff is there anything we can look at in the future, maybe pulling that whole ramp back and making more of a ramp going down? I know we can't go any further south, and we can't go that way. I don't know if that's wood. Is it concrete? I really have no idea. Is it possible at some point to look at taking some of it back and putting a ramp at least going down where they are? If we can't. I've tried to tell people that we can't go either way right now, but I do see why they do complain that it is a hardship for a lot of people. And that's
That
it.
would be going to the county and to the state easement, right?
Well, part of the issue of the beach construction, you can't use mechanical equipment, so all those pilings were hand dug.
Oh.
The reason it has that distinct shape is to maintain the ADA. Every 12 inches it goes down 1 inch. The problem is going to the south, making it further, you quickly run into the dunes that you can't excavate. Long term, the county, state, and feds will partner and bring the beach back up, but this is a cyclical issue we're going to deal with of losing parts of the beach at time and then waiting for the renourishment.
I guess I'm happy that you explain that and that we do make that public, because people just don't understand that we have our hands tied there. So it is an issue.
Y'all done? Okay, thank you. The only thing I was a couple of days ago, I was invited to take a tour at D&E in the 19-hole facilities, and what a pleasant surprise when I seen what's going on. The floor in D&E has been stripped and will be polished, and it looks great. Property service and custodian staffs have completed a lot of work in the 19th hole, and are still continuing to do some more. And the bathrooms have been painted, the tile floor deep cleaned, the bar floor has been re-waxed, dining room carpet has been deep cleaned, and the walls painted. A new heat lamp for the hot food was installed. A new cold food window was built. New commercial shelving was installed in the kitchen, and we are waiting for the vendors to lay a new kitchen floor. Building A floor has also been stripped and polished, and a new foot riser built at the bar. This was a great time to get out these things done, and I appreciate the staff for their hard work, and the residents will be happy to see all the improvements. So they weren't taking a vacation; they were working hard during those 8 weeks and everything, and you will notice a big difference in there. And when you do see the workers there, say thank you very much for all the hard work you did, and. Of course, on June 11th, we had our trustee, and we're invited to the golf course for model fashion show and the thing there, and everybody had a good time and everything. So please come to the pro shop and support the pro shop and the golf course too and everything. So thing there, and then the other thing is, I hope you all have a happy, great month of June and a happy Father's Day, which is on the 21st of June. And our next board meeting will be held June the 23rd, and I am looking for a motion to adjourn. Yes?
I need to apologize. I was taken back by not testing the video. I sent you all the video so you can see how it really plays, but I do want to take a moment to publicly thank you for the evaluation. Thank you for your leadership and the part for the community to understand. They may have given me great evaluations, but a large part of that is due to the staff I have that works day and night to make me look good. So thank you very much again.
You're welcome. Okay, okay? I'm looking to adjourn the
Move
meeting.
to dismiss.
What was the remark?
Move to dismiss.
Move to dismiss. Yeah. Okay, adjourn. Either one. Thank you. Have a great week. Oh, and happy birthday. Years of age.
I'm thinking, what can go wrong? I don't have to test this video.